My name is Margaret Fisher. I'm one of the organizers of the Student Peace Awards of Fairfax County. Every October, we ask each high school in Fairfax County to choose one recipient who has made a substantial contribution to peacemaking. You were chosen because your actions demonstrate some of the many creative ways that we can each play a role in peacemaking. Sometimes it can feel as if the world is falling apart, and this year has certainly been no exception. But you have been working faithfully to pick up the pieces. We celebrate your intention to seek the peaceful resolution of challenging issues. In appreciation, we have a check for each of you, and we will also be sending $100 in your name to a nonprofit organization chosen by you, whose values are consistent with those of the Student Peace Awards. We're going to start with some thanks and with introductions of some of our guests, two of whom are also going to say a few words. Yes, they're both here. Okay, good. I will then invite you in turn to stand up front while I read a few sentences about you. While I'm doing that, please turn to face the photographers. And after we're done all 27 school recipients, we will have a guest speaker, Richard Rubenstein. When he's finished, we're going to have a group picture of all of you, and then please stay and chat for a little while so we can get to know you and have some cookies. We have a book for each of you called Sweet Fruit from the Bitter Tree, which is a collection of true stories of ordinary people who suddenly found themselves in dangerous situations and who managed to get out of it without resorting to violence. For the past several years, the author, Mark Andreas, and his publisher have donated signed copies for us to give to you. I'd like to extend our thanks to a few people. First, we're grateful to our friends from the First Church of Christ Scientists, who arranged for us to use this community center for our reception. And many, many thanks to all our volunteers and the 15 sponsoring organizations who make this program possible. We especially thank the school staff members who go above and beyond every day at school and then come here today in support of their students. So if you're one of those school staff members, please stand so we can acknowledge you. And finally, if she's here today, could McElveen Veterinarian please stand up? Oh, she didn't make it, too bad. McElveen is the artist who created the peace poster, which is on the back of the program. We are extremely honored that 5 members of our school board are here with us today. Could you each please stand up as I name you? Karl Frisch Karl represents the Providence District on the school board, and as of January 1st this year, he became chair of the board, and he is an accomplished nonprofit executive and award-winning public policy specialist. Dr. Karl Anderson represents the Mason District. She didn't make it. Oh, sorry, well, I won't read about her. Sandy Anderson represents the Springfield District. She has 14 years of teaching experience across multiple states. She has been a PTA president for 5 years and has a special interest in programs focusing on STEM and design subjects for K-12 students that are at risk. Robyn Lady is now retired from working in county schools, but has had a decorated 27 years as a counselor in 4 county high schools and was elected to represent Dranesville District in 2023. Several times she has been elected as the College Counselor and Director of Student Services of the Year. And Kyle McDaniel? Not here, I guess, okay. We're also very happy to have Representative Gerry Connolly. Gerry was first elected to the U.S. House of Representatives for Virginia's 11th Congressional District in 2008 and is now serving his 7th term. Prior to being elected to Congress, Gerry served in many capacities on boards and committees in county administration, including chairman of the Board of Supervisors for 6 years. We are very delighted to have Gerry's continued interest in the Student Peace Awards, and we would greatly miss him if you were unable to join us. So now I would like to call him up to say a few words, followed by Karl Frisch, who will speak on behalf of the school board.
Well, hello. Hello. How many here think peace is a good idea? Yes. Not everyone. You know, every day where I work, I face the prospect of voting on peace or war. I have to make decisions about the deployment of U.S. troops. I have to make decisions about the coalitions, the military coalitions we form. I have to make decisions about conflicts in other parts of the world and what, if any, responsibility the United States has with respect to that conflict. And it makes that word peace more meaningful, but also more elusive. I was here a year ago. I cannot tell you that we've made real progress toward peace. The world seems to be a more dangerous place. It seems to be a more tumultuous place. And we can see on our televisions what happens in the absence of peace. What human beings can and do to other human beings. I say that not to depress you. I say that because that's our challenge. And what each of you have done is build your niche. Make your contribution to that big overriding hope for humanity that we can live in peace. And that matters. Every building block matters. It may not always seem that way, but after a while, you know, if you look at the metaphor of medieval cathedrals, cathedrals were considered the epitome of human expression and aspiration with their God during the Middle Ages in Europe. And it often took decades, if not centuries, to complete a cathedral. Their engineering was fairly primitive. Sometimes they'd build something and it would collapse because they got it wrong. Whole communities would devote their lives as bricklayers, as wood carvers, as glass blowers, to build this beautiful statement, human statement of their relationship with their God. And an expression of their community. Many of the people who helped build cathedrals never lived to see the edifice completed. But they believed in their contribution to that edifice. And that's what you're doing today. You've got to believe that every time we strike a little blow for peace, it matters. And peace isn't just the absence of war, right? It's how we live our lives. It's how we interact with fellow human beings. It's how we treat one another. It's the respect we have for differences, whether they be of opinion or origin. Acceptance, invitation, openness. Those are all attributes of what makes peace. And we do not live in a world where we can take that for granted. Maybe it's human nature. But each one of us can do something to make it better. Each one of us can make that contribution that maybe we won't live to see. But some future generation will appreciate the fact we did it. Even if we weren't sure it would make a difference. We still believed in it, and we did it. So I like coming every year because I believe in what I just said, and I try to live it. And we need allies, and we need the next generation to come forward and make their contribution collectively and individually, and that's what you're doing today. So thank you for believing in peace, and thank you for your contribution in making it happen. God bless you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I say good afternoon, everyone. I'm Karl Frisch, I'm chair of the school board, and I want to welcome my colleagues here who were already introduced, and Ryan McElveen, if you want to stand up for us. One of our at-large members on the school board. This is an exciting event every year. And like the congressman said, in a chaotic world where peace seems and is elusive, it is heartening to see the work that you all are doing in our own backyards to create peace and spread a little kindness because it matters. These Peace Awards began almost 20 years ago with one school, one idea, and now look how far it has spread. And so if you're ever wondering if the work that you're doing is having an impact, just think of that. 20 years from now, the work that you're doing in your community could have a lasting impact that spreads far beyond anything that you could have imagined. And so we're grateful to be here with all of you to celebrate you and the work that you're doing and to do everything we can to support you in your future endeavors because it matters. The impact, it's a bit like throwing a stone or a pebble into a pond or a lake. The ripples that you create touch all parts of the pond, even if you can't even see them. So thank you for being a part of that change in the world and doing a little bit here at home. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. And before I start, Ryan, I am so sorry. I had it down and I messed up. So please welcome Ryan McElveen on the school board. Thank you so much for coming. And also I understand that Nicolette Betramarian just came, so let's give a round of applause to our artist. Okay, so we're going to start with Hosna Basiri. Hosna, can you please come and stand right here? Hosna Basiri is from Annandale High School, and she volunteers as a Dari interpreter when students from Afghanistan meet with their counselors. She created gatherings and later a formal club, Dunya, which helps students navigate the school system. She organizes field trips, or they organize field trips and college visits, and advocate for the needs of refugees with local media stations. She also advocated for and secured a space for Muslim students to hold Friday prayers and has helped establish a prayer and meditation room within the school, which is open to students of all religions. As co-president of Student Equity Ambassador Leaders, she established a mental health committee within the organization. So thank you, Hosna. Next, from Centerville High School, we have the Level the Field organization with Joanne Park, Angela Park, and Abigail Daniel. Centerville.
That's my district.
Thank you. Level the Field empowers underserved students with encouragement, tutoring, and mentoring by peers and older students. Sisters Joanne and Angela Park established the organization and also serve as its co-presidents. Along with Treasurer Abigail Daniel and student officers from another high school and the University of Virginia, Level the Field now has contacts in Iraq, Canada, and Mexico. Through the organization's Better Together mentorship program, Level the Field matches middle and high school youth to college students to talk about challenges with schoolwork, stresses in relationships, or self-esteem. Level the Field's Reach for the Stars program is a free tutoring program targeted toward low-income elementary school students who want to explore their interests in English, computer science, or math. Taken together, these programs help students overcome psychological and socioeconomic obstacles that hurt their academic success and their life chances. Congratulations, Level the Field. Oh, please go that way. From Chantilly High School? No? Okay. From Chantilly High School, Ria Jacate. As president of Chantilly High School's Outlook Club, Ria Jacate has been able to spread the word about the importance of animal welfare and adopting animals from local animal shelters, as well as raising money for the Fairfax County Animal Shelter. As president of the Outlook Club, Ria has organized bi-weekly discussions after school. She also organized a joint meeting with the vegan clubs to talk about sustainable living and how our choices affect the animals around us. Outlook Club's bake sale offered animal-themed baked goods and donated proceeds to the animal shelter. Ria says, "I think it's important to inspire others and raise awareness of how we can live in harmony with the natural world around us." Congratulations, Ria. From Anderson High School, Ellie Teal, Sabrina Enobusi, Tyler Paloma, and Cameron Hoy. From Edison Mines Matter. Edison Minds Matter is a student organization that encourages open conversations about mental health, destigmatizes discussions about well-being among peers, and strives to unite the Edison High School community through mental health advocacy. The group promotes mental wellness by inspiring students to adopt simple, positive coping mechanisms, such as getting enough sleep, practicing meditation, embracing words of affirmation, and tapping into the power of play. Edison Minds Matters also spearheaded the first school-wide suicide prevention campaign, resulting in numerous student organizations wearing the yellow ribbons for suicide awareness across campus. The aim was to remind students that they're not alone and that resources are available to help them thrive. Thank you. From Fairfax High School, Tron Din. Tran Din organized Mind Matters Fairfax, a student-led school club devoted to reducing the stigma of mental health, improving mental health awareness, and promoting positive mental health practices. Following a classmate's tragic overdose death, Tran collaborated with school counselors and social workers to revitalize her school's Wellness Week by growing the program into Fun Fridays, as well as adding regular self-care and art-based activities throughout the year. This year, Tran wrote a proposal to the Fairfax Falls Church Community Service Board for their grant, which resulted in a $1,000 award to buy educational materials and organize events in local elementary and middle schools to promote good mental health practices. She also is active in mental health advocacy. Last August, she visited Capitol Hill and briefed a staff member of Representative Connolly's office about mind matters. They discussed what it would take to extend mental health education to elementary and middle school grades. Congratulations. From Falls Church High School, Helena Halamariam. Helena serves as a Fairfax County Public Schools Student Equity Ambassador Leader. Along with other student committee members, Helena met with the Fairfax County School Board members in support of policy changes to promote equity and cultural diversity, with the result that the board passed the Fairfax County Public School Equity Policy. She founded the Falls Church Student Equity Coalition, bringing students together to seek justice and equity. She's also a member of the Black Student Union, and this year she established a new school club, the East African Association, which raises funds for East African countries and has hosted a Heritage Night and has plans for a winter formal. In addition, she is on the Teen Advisory Board and established a youth mentoring project at Fairfax County Libraries. She also worked on a project to enable an exchange of used clothing and worked on another to provide free tutoring. From Hayfield High School, Ajane Massenburg. His family will accept the award for him, as he was unable to come. Oh, her, excuse me. Sorry about that. Ajane participated in many service projects while living in Brazil and has continued her work to help others and to defend minority groups since enrolling at Hayfield a year ago. She has participated here in a variety of community service events, such as packing bags of non-perishable items for the underserved communities in Alexandria and serving at a luncheon for senior citizens. She is a member of Hayfield's chapter of Minds Matter, a national program which works to empower young people from diverse backgrounds to achieve mental well-being and healthy coping skills. She was selected to be the service coordinator to represent the Gender and Sexuality Club, and she was also selected to be a diversity and inclusion representative, and she worked with other students to speak up for the underrepresented students in her school and to make all students feel welcome and at home. From Herndon High School, Susie Reyes.
Sorry, that's me again.
Susie Reyes is recognized for her leadership in reducing small-scale conflicts among her peers as one step towards creating a more peaceful world. She juggles school and 3 jobs as an IT intern at the Smithsonian Institute, as a barista at Starbucks, and assisting on her family's farm. Her tenacity, acceptance of responsibility, and willingness to work hard contribute to making her a student leader. Other students have reported how she is able to diffuse contentious situations with ease and aplomb. Susie has also provided informal mentoring and encouragement to younger students. Congratulations, Susie. From Justice High School, Dalia Poca. Dalia and her classmate Wahid created the Student Council at Justice High School, which serves as a forum for schools to express opinions, concerns, and suggestions to the school administration. Dahlia is also a member of SEALS, Student Equity Ambassador Leaders, which provides student input at school board meetings. As a class representative, Dahlia also serves the students at Justice High School as a class representative to forward feedback from students to the Student Government Association. She says, peace isn't about sitting on the sideline, it is about getting involved and spreading joy. From King Abdullah Academy, Jenna Nafa. Jenna's Palestinian roots instilled in her a deep compassion for the plight of under-resourced women. She initiated a program that provided hygiene kits to women in need. The kits include soap, shampoo, conditioner, Band-Aids, hand sanitizer, toothbrush and toothpaste, and women's sanitary napkins. She volunteered for Brigade of Mercy, a local nonprofit that provides immediate relief to those who have limited or no access to health-promoting resources. Working through the summer and into her senior year, Jenna raised $1,200 by spreading the word on Instagram, distributing flyers throughout the local community, and conducting an online fundraiser to provide 150 hygiene kits that were distributed to women and girls in 2 local shelters and to the El Amal Center in Amman, Jordan. From Lake Braddock, Mackenzie Craig. Mackenzie works with special needs students through a peer helping class. Class projects have included working together on crafts and practicing tasks that may be needed for job placement, such as folding napkins over silverware. She also serves as a peer coach to facilitate participation in basketball. Mackenzie's suggestion of calling the basketball games "Shoot for Inclusion" was voted by her classmate as the best motivational slogan for this year's games. This slogan was printed on t-shirts given to team members and sold to other students to fund a game day banner that the team will break through as they enter the basketball court, and for other expenses to fund the peer helping program. In addition, Mackenzie reorganized the Swim for Diabetes fundraiser at her pool, resulting in donations increasing from 2,000 to 9,000 a year. Thank you, Mackenzie. From Langley High School, Lena Leotakis. In her sophomore year at Langley, Lena raised $400 to purchase socks and underwear for the homeless shelter. That successful project inspired her to found Delivering Hope, a service club at Langley High School devoted to serving the community by helping those less fortunate within the Northern Virginia area. Most of the club's work to date has been focused on service projects with homeless shelters, clothing centers, and clothing drives for those in need. Last year, students in the club helped prepare and serve a pre-Thanksgiving meal for 45 clients of the shelter. In November, they volunteered at Luckett's Community Closet, a resource providing free clothes for people in need. In a year and a half, the club has grown to include more than 80 members. Thank you. From Lewis High School, Daniel Gonzalez. Daniel organized a school-wide walkout at his high school, mourning those killed in Uvalde in May 2022, and calling for gun safety legislation. After discussion with classmates, Daniel met with teachers and administrators at his high school to help them design a walkout to help educate others on the seriousness of gun violence and possible solutions. Daniel was pleased that the walkout succeeded in raising awareness of gun violence and the constructive actions students can take to achieve greater gun safety. Vice President Kamala Harris recognized Daniel's work when she gave a speech at the high school. Said Daniel, "This walkout showed me that I have a voice and I can choose to use it throughout my life to bring about change." Thank you, Daniel. From Madison High School, Sophie Mazzuti, who unfortunately was unable to come today. After seeing news programs about the war in Ukraine and its devastating effects on the residents, Sophie Mazzuti and her sister made 850 bracelets with letters spelling out peace and raised $6,500, which she donated to the U.S. Ukraine Foundation, a nonprofit organization which provides humanitarian and economic aid, including emergency medical equipment, to Ukraine. In addition to her bracelet project, Sophie started a Help the Homeless Club at Madison High School, which collects food and clothing and assembles care packages, which they deliver to the Embry Rucker Shelter in Reston. Thank you, Sophie. And from Marshall High School, Amar Ahmed also couldn't come today. As a volunteer teacher, Amar Ahmed has made a difference in the lives of young children who live in a Rohingya refugee camp in Bangladesh. These children had been uprooted from their homes in Myanmar and had fled to the camp. He set up an improvised classroom to teach them basic English and math. He served food to the children, some of whom took the food back to their families. He also helped with flu shots by explaining what the shot was for. His goal was to establish a secure and supportive learning atmosphere where students could develop both intellectually and emotionally. So thank you, Eimer. And from McLean High School, Kaya Amani Williams. As a sophomore, Kaya was actively involved with other students in the formation of the Black Student Union at McLean High School. Now as a senior, Kaya is the president of the BSU, a leadership position which demands a significant commitment of time and energy. In late October, immediately following the outbreak of hostilities in the Middle East, the BSU decided to join in a peaceful walkout in solidarity with the Muslim Student Association. Led by Kaya, the BSU felt that participation in this walkout would help to ease possible tensions at McLean High School through a tangible commitment to peaceful, nonviolent resolution of disagreements and potential conflict around a divisive issue. Under her leadership, student membership in the BSU has increased, with increasing participation and support of the faculty and school administration. The BSU also maintains contacts with similar groups at other schools in Fairfax County. Thank you, Kaya. From Mount Vernon High School, Philip Ha. Philip Ha grew up in a non-English speaking Vietnamese household. As the primary English language learner, he became the household interpreter. In middle school, he served as translator for a set of Vietnamese twins newly arrived in the United States. These experiences gave Philip the satisfaction of helping others through building connections and set him on a path of studying foreign languages as a way to bridge gaps and foster empathy. As the current president of both Mount Vernon High School's Asian Pacific Islander American Club and the German Club, Philip Hall works for peace through his combined understanding of the transformative power of shared language and his desire to build respectful connections. Thank you, Philip. And from Mountain View High School, the Mountain View Mirror, which is the school newspaper, Kenensulas, and teacher Michael Hardy, Representative Gerry. And Emma King, who was unable to come today.
We need more of that.
The Mountain View Mirror is the school online newspaper. In 10 years, it has published nearly 3,000 articles. The paper's motto is real people, real stories, real life. Articles cover a wide range of topics, including immigration, teen parenting, mental health, and community gardening. Through the Global Classroom Project, Mountain View students have partnered with students in Vienna, Austria, exchanging ideas on education as a human right, water resources, social justice issues, and migration policy amid extreme inequality. Teacher Micah Hardy says the Mountain View Mirror gives students opportunities to grow, not just in knowledge, but in confidence, collaboration, and consensus building. This unique platform builds peace because it builds justice advocacy through the power of dialogue-based learning while maintaining authenticity in student voices and global audiences. And I would add that a free press is a pillar of democracy. So thank you very much. From Quanah Road High School, Jason Sanz Hernandez. Jason was selected for the Quanah Road Student Council because of his skills in preventing small disagreements from escalating into physical altercations. He says he works to comfort unhappy or argumentative students and encourages them to cool down. Jason also seeks to provide a friendly presence when he volunteers to serve as a cashier in the student-run cafe, a space where students can eat and relax. Bilingual in English and Spanish, Jason assists as a tutor in algebra and geometry. He also assists Spanish-speaking students who are struggling in their English courses. According to his teachers, he is level-headed and he is particularly effective in working with his classmates because he is a well-liked peer who is respected and trusted by the other students. Thank you, Jason. From Robinson Secondary, Samantha Katz. Last summer, Samantha visited the West Bank and Israel to study life and culture in the region as part of a program sponsored by an international youth group. On a return to the U.S., she resolved to study and work on the issues and founded a Jewish student union at Robinson. She has written about the spread of media propaganda around the world and how it has heightened Islamophobia and anti-Semitism on many levels due to harmful content being reposted out of context. She has witnessed this in her own school community, where racism, hateful speech, loaded comments, and even Nazi symbols have sprung up recently. She is acutely aware that the spreading of hate is a barrier to better understanding. She believes that serious discussions and education surrounding the contentious issues will help to bring more peace, understanding, and inclusion at Robinson. Thank you, Samantha. From South County High School, Eden Akbag. Eden is an ambassador to the New Hope Rehabilitation and Healing Center, which works to reduce the rapidly growing epidemic of substance abuse and related deaths among youth. Eden helped raise funds for the center through local car washes, bake sales, and an auction at the Ethiopian Embassy, which raised approximately $5,000. Eden also serves as co-president of the Pathways to Progress Club, which works to interest more minority and underrepresented students in STEM-related programs. She's also a member of South County's International Club, whose goal is to celebrate and spread diversity. The club hosts an international night which promotes dancing, food, and fashion from all over the world. Eden is also the social media manager for the Ethiopian Eritrean Association, an organization that welcomes and supports the many Ethiopian students at South County High School. Thank you, Eden. From South Lakes High School, Virginia Banton. Virginia is the president of the South Lakes Best Buddies Club, which is dedicated to supporting the needs of students with intellectual and developmental challenges. Participating students are paired with volunteers to socialize and to work on projects together. As president, Virginia has worked to foster supportive relationships for students to thrive and learn together, and to eliminate the bullying that often confronts this community. Virginia feels that the existence and visibility of the Best Buddies Club help the general student population be more open and friendly. Thank you, Virginia. From Thomas Jefferson High School for Science and Technology, we have Anuradhu Mantha, Lavanya Maduri, I don't think is here, Shreya Atharajan, Dilnaj Tawar, I don't believe is here, Ryan Singh, Harshal Lavana, not here, Ruhan Singh, and Naisha Patel. TJ's selection this year was Namaste. Every year, TJ's Namaste Club sponsors and organizes International Night, or I-Night, a large multicultural show. One of the largest events of the school year that involves anywhere from 500 to 700 students. Each of the 20 acts represents the various school culture clubs, giving each group the opportunity to display the music, dance, and other traditions from their culture. Besides being a major bonding and morale-boosting event for the students and community, ticket sales raise money for an international charity. For each of the past 4 years, Namaste has donated $4,000 to $5,000 from the I-Night ticket sales to charities such as Action Aid, International Rescue Committee, and other global peace and justice promoting nonprofits. Practicing the spirit of Namaste, I-Night is a unifying show that brings together students, teachers, staff, and families into one inclusive community. Thank you, Namaste. From West Potomac High School, Eli Kopp. Eli is a founding member and current president of the Jewish American Club at West Potomac. When anti-Semitic graffiti marred West Potomac's 2023 graduation ceremony, he vowed to make every effort to bring peace to the school through cross-cultural contact and education. A goal of the club is to involve students who do not know about Jewish people and help them to learn about their culture and customs. Eli is also a student-to-student ambassador with the Jewish Community Relations Council of Greater Washington, whose goal is to counter bigotry and stereotypes by providing personal context and descriptions of life as a Jew. Eli has also participated in the Latakan Social Justice Seminar, a program in which students discuss issues such as reproductive choices, LGBTQ rights, climate change, and healthcare. And he spoke to his representatives on Capitol Hill, advocating for laws to end gun violence. Thank you. Springfield High School, Roeen Zahid. Roeen is president of the West Springfield High School Spartans for War Victims, which was established by his older sisters, who also received the Student Peace Award. The group is dedicated to humanitarian and advocacy efforts that aim to protect human rights and alleviate the suffering of civilians living in war zones around the world. Under his leadership this year, Spartans for War Victims has organized a winter clothing and blanket drive for the numerous groups caught in the middle of armed conflict in Ethiopia and refugees displaced by the war in Syria. The club has also expanded its awareness and advocacy efforts, increasing awareness meetings and advocacy campaigns, including awareness meetings and advocacy campaigns. Roeen has also personally helped assist several Afghan refugee families as they resettled in the U.S. following the Taliban takeover of Afghanistan. Thank you, Roeen. From Westfield High School, we have Chelsea Murillo Quintanilla, Sean McCulley, Evelyn Hun, and Dunya Nader. Westfield High School's selection was the Westfield Student Ambassadors, a program that provides avenues for peace and friendship among a diverse population who might otherwise find it difficult to connect and feel included. Their efforts have been effective helping new students, often immigrants, integrate into the school community. Ambassadors meet and escort new students to their classes, give them tours of the building, and include them in the Westfield community. They also participate in school-wide events including freshman boot camp, new student touch base, curriculum night, and bulldog barbecue. Many ambassadors were new immigrants not long ago, which provides them with an authenticity in helping with cultural transitions. They are role models and school leaders who encourage a safe space for all voices to be heard, treat others with openness and respect, and facilitate connections between different groups. Thank you, student ambassadors. From Woodson High School, Ali Johnson, representing the National Art Honor Society, and Alex Sheridan and Yeva Kalunas. Woodson's National Art Honor Society promotes peace through art-based projects, such as designing a coloring book that will be delivered to patients at an addiction treatment facility. Another activity was creating Christmas tree ornaments that were given to a residential facility for senior citizens. The club participates in the Memory Project, which works at connecting youth around the world through art to help build cultural understanding and international kindness. High school students create portraits of children in another part of the world based on pictures they are given of the students. This year, Woodson's Arts Society members made more than 20 portraits of children in the country of Colombia, using whichever medium they preferred. The portraits were then sent to Colombia as gifts to the children. In the spring, they plan to use their artistic skills and passion to create a large mural in one of the hallways in the school. The club also plans to sponsor an art show where local artists can display their creations. Thank you. Did I skip anyone by accident? No. Okay, wonderful. All right, thank you all. And now we will hear from Dr. Richard Rubenstein. Dr. Richard Rubenstein is an author and emeritus professor of conflict resolution and public affairs in the Carter School of Conflict Analysis and Resolution at George Mason University, and he's a former director of that school. He has degrees from Harvard, including the Harvard School of Law and Oxford University in England, where he was a Rhodes Scholar. He has devoted much of his life to studying and teaching the causes, dynamics, and methods of resolving conflicts, particularly those conflicts relating to religion and social structure. He has also taught political science and law. He has authored 10 books on political violence and conflict resolution. Lectures by him can be found on YouTube, including a TED Talk. So we're very delighted that he can join us today and share some of his wisdom and insights.
Thank you very much. It's a real pleasure to be here. Great pleasure to be back in Fairfax, where I lived for 20 years before moving to DC. And in fact, my daughters attended Woodson and Mountain View. Anyway, it's great to be back. I also want to congratulate not only the awardees of the Peace Awards, but the members of the school board who, in issuing this award, find themselves, they may or may not know that they're in a relatively small minority of school boards in the U.S. right now, who recognize peace in this very important and encouraging way. And we thank you very much for doing that. Also, great to meet Margaret, who has a well-deserved reputation as a nature organizer and tree state, among other things. So, great fun. And Gerry Connolly, we had a quick talk. But I want to especially say that, well, two things. First of all, I want to bring you greetings from the Carter School, which is one of the sponsors of these awards. And we are all proud of you. You probably know we're the oldest one, largest peace studies program in the country. Working there has been my dream job. I finally forced myself to become an emeritus and retire from teaching last year after almost 40 years there. And there's a lot of things going on there that may interest you, that I think will interest you. So be sure to look us up. We have, as you know, an undergraduate program in Fairfax, and we have graduate programs based in Arlington. And all of this, a lot of things happening, can be found on our website, which is carterschool@gmu.edu. There are many activities that might interest you, and we'd like to see you if you come down to, especially if you come over to Arlington. And if you're interested in doing that, send me an email. So, first of all, we're proud of you because whether you know it or not, you're doing things which in some ways are in the forefront of our field. You're, of course, doing good. And, do-gooder is a kind of nasty thing to call people these days, isn't it? Oh, she's just a do-gooder. But to be a do-gooder, to put yourself in the place of people who aren't you and who may not be like you, and to think what they're thinking and feel what they're feeling and want to do something about their problems as well as your own problems, is a major step towards creating a better kind of person and a better kind of society. And our students are self-selected, at the Carter School. I think a lot of them feel that way, the way you do. And what they discover working there is a couple of things you probably have discovered already just in your work. That peace isn't just not conflict. In fact, peace very often involves good conflict, fun conflict, good trouble, as John Lewis would say. It's a mixture of conflict and collaboration. It can be fun conflict, like a good marriage has got that kind of conflict. So if we're not interested in creating boring peace, the problem with a lot of descriptions of heaven is that it's so boring. You know, what do you do there with no conflict? And in our field, a distinction that you're probably aware of has developed between negative and positive peace. You've heard about that, right? Negative peace means the absence of direct violence. People stop beating each other up, which is, of course, a good thing. But the problem pointed out to us years ago by a man who was a very good friend of mine who unfortunately died a couple of months ago, named Johan Galtung, a great Norwegian peacemaker. Johan gave us two vital concepts in the peace studies field. One was the concept of positive peace. He used to say that the problem with limiting yourself to negative peace or to talking about direct violence is that it makes it difficult for you to understand where that violence is coming from sometimes. And it makes it difficult or impossible sometimes for you to develop peacemaking or peace-building programs that are going to actually do something about the causes of the violence, not just the immediate symptoms of the violence. So Galtung developed two related concepts, which I use all the time, and I've written about stuff also, and I practice. I use it in my practice. One is the notion of positive peace, which means creating valued relationships between people. Creating valued relationships between people. Because if you look at the reasons why peace ends, why conflict and violent conflict in particular begins, you find not only that somebody has struck somebody else, not only that somebody has started it, but you often find that behind the subjective causes of conflict, in fact, I mean, we know that sometimes people hate each other. We know that people sometimes don't understand each other. We know that people sometimes have their emotions out of control. We know that people sometimes feel that they only have the truth and everybody else is a fool. And all of these can be causes of conflict, but they're all subjective causes of conflict. There's something else going on, though, too. And that is that there can be, and often are, systems producing the conflict. It isn't just people having the wrong ideas or emotions in their heads, but the fact that the reason they have often the wrong ideas or destructive ideas or emotions in their heads is that they've been subject to what Galtung called structural violence, not just direct violence, structural violence. They are living in a system in which their basic needs aren't being satisfied. And often the basic needs aren't being satisfied because there are a few people on the top having all the fun and making all the money, having all the power. Or because there's some majority ethnic group or racial group or political group which is making decisions for everybody else and not consulting or taking into account the members of the minority. So the obstacles to peace don't only include not being nice. Right? The obstacles to peace include living in systems that are generating violence. And in this instance, you know, it's good to have, I know what a lot of you already have developed, historical imagination. And you think back, say, to the days of slavery in the United States. A structural violence system. One of Galtung's insights is that, you know, if you have structural violence, it generates direct violence. And slavery certainly did. It's too obvious even to talk about. Generated. But structural violence, which means a legal code, which means cultural norms, which means ways that people relate to each other, which means how you make a living, is sometimes hard to see, especially when you're in the middle of it. When you're living in a system that's generating violence, it's hard to see sometimes because you're in the middle of it. It's hard to see sometimes because thinking about it is taboo. For example, I just wrote a book a little while ago about structural violence, called Resolving Structural Conflict. And I was amazed to find that some people were shocked when I pointed out in that book that prisons are structurally violent. That when guards beat up on prisoners, or when prisoners assault guards, or when prisoners riot, or when other bad things happen in the prison. A prison is a machine for violence. It's not just because the guards aren't well trained. It's not just because the prisoners are so incorrigible. It's not because the prison administration is so callous, or the prisoners are so angry. All of those things can be true. All of those subjective states can be true. But there's something else happening. People are being locked up in ways that prevent them from satisfying all kinds of basic needs. And ranging from mobility to heterosexual sex. And when you deprive people of the satisfaction of basic needs, they're going to end up acting out. They're going to end up acting antisocially. One of the virtues of looking at the system as, in some cases at least, as a creator of violence, is that you stop blaming one party or the other for giving them total blame and responsibility to for violence. You stop taking sides in every conflict. Who are the good guys and who are the bad guys? Right? Who are the good guys and who are the bad guys in Gaza? Right? A situation where Hamas made a horrific attack on people still traumatized by the Holocaust, and who had to see that attack as a reminder, a recapitulation, and a threat of a campaign that almost exterminated all of them years ago. And how can you not see that that Hamas attack didn't just come out of nowhere? That there was what Galton would call structural violence on a large scale in Gaza for years, at least since 2006. So that what we have in a case of that sort of a conflict is not one good guy and one bad guy. What you have in that conflict always is shared responsibility. People who don't understand that the other side is traumatized by violence. People who don't understand that they can't secure their own survival by denying the basic needs of the other side. And in the case of, we've had some people walk out maybe because they didn't like what I'm saying, but in the case of Gaza, it seems to me that the search for good guys and bad guys is extremely destructive. Why? Because I think what you're going to find out as you go on in your own careers, I think many of you, just based on what you've done already, are going to be involved in peacemaking in a serious way. Peacemaking and peace building in the future. And I think what you're going to find out when you do that and when you get into that sort of work is that choices need to be made of what kind of conflict resolution process is likely to work. What kind of conflict resolution process, what kind of do-gooding actually is going to have an effect. Not just create a temporary truce between people, which is going to degenerate. Sometimes after a temporary truce, what happens after that is worse than the violence that created it. So how do you get to really resolve conflicts? Well, you need a theory of what caused the conflict. And the theory needs to not just come out of your own head totally and out of your own prejudices, it has to be empirically based. It has to really come out of talking to the parties to the conflict and listening to what they say, because what they very often say is what really is in their hearts and what really has generated the conflict, and that often points to elements in the system that need to be corrected. So you become a conflict resolver has got to be in politics in a certain way, not in a superficial way, not in a way of being a partisan, a hack, but in the way of analyzing what kind of change in the system has the potential to make real, permanent, substantive, qualitative changes. And we've seen that happen in a number of instances, even as tough as things are in the world right now, and tempting us, to be very pessimistic about things. There are all sorts of examples, and some of them come from your own work. You've seen effects of the work you've been doing, and if we look at a country like, Northern Ireland, where conflict was terrible, and conflict resolution work was done for 2 decades before the Good Friday Agreement was signed over there, what we found was the people in Northern Ireland changing the system that was generating the violence, learning how to share power. So the question, what kind of system change do we need? It's not, I want to say it's not a coldly scientific question. It's a deeply political question. But people who were determined to think about it, to get to the bottom of it, will, for example, in Gaza, if you're following the writing on Gaza, you're already beginning to see suggestions about how the system in that part of the world, the system in Israel-Palestine, could be changed to promote the interests and secure the interests of all the parties in that part of the world. Because clearly, without changes in the system, we're going to continue with that conflict, which, as you know, at the moment is close to genocidal. Therefore, I have 2 things to tell you in conclusion, and I think you're already on the path to doing these things. One is, think about the effects of the work that you're doing and ask yourself the question, is this a Band-Aid I'm putting on, or am I actually diagnosing the disease? And in many cases you'll find that you are indeed on the way to a cure for the disease. It's not just a Band-Aid. The second thing, it seems to me, that's important, and that's so often forgotten, is that when you're thinking of how to change the system that's generating the trouble, the violence, that takes guts. It takes a willingness to go beyond taboos. For example, some people don't want to think that the United States ever does anything wrong. So we can't think of the U.S. system as being responsible for violence anywhere in the world. Well, now we know that's not true. We know the United States does lots of things right. So it's not a question of bashing America. But we also know that there are certain kinds of imbalances of power that U.S. policy and policies of other nations can promote that generate structural violence, and that generates direct violence. All right? So we're not afraid of the taboo, but also we're not afraid to imagine what a better system might look like. The worst taboo of all, the most effective and the most destructive taboo of all, is the idea that tells you things can't ever be really better. It's unrealistic, it's utopian, it's silly to think that things could be changed in such a way as to actually eliminate what look like intractable problems. I, for example, am convinced, this is a whole other discussion we don't have time to have now, but I'm convinced that the immigration question that's so divided our country now is actually a non-conflict, an unnecessary conflict. That there are policies that some of them would involve economic planning, which is taboo. But there are policies which would make it possible for the country to get the immigration that it needs, because we do have a labor shortage, without causing the bad effects which immigration causes in many communities and which makes life difficult for people who are living in those communities. This is not, as they say, this is not rocket science. But if the assumption is, well, you can't really change the way we do business. We're really stuck with this system. The question is, should we have more of it? Should we have more immigration or should we have less immigration? More immigration without doing something to have immigrants live where their workers needed, where they'll go okay without undermining wage rates and so forth. It's not the answer. Less immigration in a country that has a labor shortage and which is always dependent upon immigration for economic growth and innovation and so on is not the answer. So to put yourself in a position where you can see that when people dish up a conflict in terms of this kind of either or, it's often wrong. And the reason it's wrong is because they haven't allowed themselves to think of alternatives, of systemic alternatives that might work. But you don't have to be afraid of that. I mean, thank God we have new generations like yours, because you are not going to be subject to the same taboos, and you're not going to be as unimaginative as so many people in public office and private enterprise have been up to this time. Imagination is the key to conflict resolution. But you know that already. I think it's already implicit in what you're doing, and I'm really proud of you and want you to keep doing it. So, more power to you.
Thank you so much. And yes, you must not be afraid to speak about taboo subjects. All right, so now we're going to have our group picture. So to do that, what you're going to do is turn 8 of these chairs around and put them here, and 8 people sit in them, and the rest of the students gather behind, and Michael Hardy. Then everyone else can be stacking the chairs over on the side of the wall so we can make some room for us to mingle. Please, everybody, enjoy a cookie and stay a little so we have a chance to meet you and congratulate you. And one more round of applause for the students.